ship. I'm along for the ride here.
T, when it comes to listen, so don't look down at your phone. I've got everything for you right here. When it comes to this draft,
We got a draft coming up for you
when
guys.
it comes to the draft, can you read that?
He can read it.
Can you see my writing
That's
right there?
just because he went to DeMatha, you shouldn't accuse him of not being able to read.
No, he's mad at my because when I write for myself, I scribble. When I write for someone else, I have nice handwriting.
Are
He
you
bitches
sure we're
about my
live?
handwriting.
Oh yeah, we're live.
Most DeMatha guys I know can read at least. I mean, they can. It's possible. I mean, doing some good things down there in Hyattsville. We will have
You're killing me, dude.
we will have some good stuff coming up here, guys, in the show. But we will start it the way we always start it, with Bone Thugs and Harmony. Thank you so much for being with us on a Tuesday night in the Basement Podcast Studios. I'm Ken Marangolo. Thank God it's Tuesday. He's Kevin Ricca.
And I'm gonna tell everybody it's nice
right.
to be here, man. Little Bone Thugs never hurt no one. I don't think. Don't quote me on that.
Love it.
He's Tim Strecken.
You know, it's so nice to get together on a Victory Tuesday for a win in DC for our football team here. It was great.
Are you a defender?
Great weekend. Oh,
Okay.
hell yeah. Why not? Be a defender.
I'm a Cardell Jones fan.
Hell
Have at
yeah.
it, buddy.
He played well.
He did.
Hey, man, it's football.
We will welcome all of our good friends, our First Amendment sports friends at Hogs Haven, as we are the official Redskins podcast of Hogs Haven. And I have begun my. I'm trying to think what
We haven't been fired yet.
Oh well, we haven't been paid. We're on some staff. We're on the masthead.
So we're squatting.
We're squatting. We're
All right.
basically squatting as the title. There's some really good podcasts coming through. Our main man Brian Stabby is helming the Hogs Haven podcast feed. But at the end of the day, I was trying to think of what year this was. It was January 2009 when I first started at Hogs Haven. And as we're going through this last decade of DC sports, man, talk about feeling my feelings all over again. Some of those feelings weren't so great going through the DC sports scene, and we'll be at 2015, 16, and 17 tonight. It it seemed worse. That's my teaser for those years. At the time, it felt worse. Looking back on it now, there's some really cool things that happened during those years. The Redskins absolutely had something to do with that, but a little bit of time has put a little bit of shine on those years, and there were some lean years right before the goodness of titles and trophies came to town. But we'll start with the Redskins. There is news and notes on the Washington Redskins as the offseason for the entire NFL is in full gear. Let's start with the bad first. Quentin Dunbar reported and confirmed that he's asked for a trade or a release. 1 year out, he's in a contract year. He did sign an extension, so it's not a rookie contract. Coincidentally, he was a guy who I believe started as an undrafted free agent with the Redskins during the period of time we're about to talk about later tonight, as a wide receiver from Florida, right?
Yep.
So
Undrafted. Rookie.
let me hand it off here to you guys with the simple thought that he's playing the game. He's not a dummy. He knows what cornerbacks make. He knows how highly ranked he is. All this stuff everyone knows. He's a highly regarded cornerback in the National Football League, making peanuts compared to what he could possibly be making. That's a true thing. However, it's just weird that it's Quentin Dunbar out of nowhere being the dragging up this
Does
negativity.
he have a history of
I don't think so.
anything like this? Is this him being a diva? Is this his agent trying to position him for something and just
Yes, well,
using,
yes,
using a
it's
dirty
business.
tactic to do it?
It's not even. It's a
Or does he
standard
really
tactic.
just want to say,
I don't
screw
even
you
think
guys?
I don't think it's dirty.
It's not
at
dirty.
all.
It's standard. It's like
Is he
page
gonna
2 in the playbook.
Is it going to be a Cartman and be like, screw you guys, I'm out of here?
No,
I
he'll
mean,
play
is he
for
like-
his money. He's a guy you can make play, but at the end of the day, he knows how much money
That's
he
the
can be
weird
making.
thing. Where's this coming from? What is
Well,
what,
here-
what
here's
really is
T-
it? Is it
let me-
really bad?
let me
I
make
don't
some
know.
sense
How
for you
bad
real
is
quick.
bad? I don't know if it's all that bad. Is
I
it
think
bad?
I don't think it's all that bad. Listen, I think I'm a big '80s guy musically. I'm a big music guy, and
You're a big
as,
music
as
guy.
Howard,
Big
as,
music guy.
as
I've always said
Howard
that about you.
Jones said,
Yeah.
no one ever is to blame. He is in the final year.
I thought he
He
said
has no guaranteed
you don't
money.
have to take your clothes off to have a good time. Was that him? Also,
no,
Howard Stern?
no,
Okay.
no, no.
Okay.
But That was a great one.
That was
Cherry
great.
wine? I never had cherry wine.
never had cherry
I've
wine.
never actually seen it.
No.
But I did love that jam as well. My man is making $3.25 million. The cornerback average in the NFL is $7 million. He's
Yep.
definitely above average. I think we would all say that.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the arguments today were that he's a top 10 corner. I'm, as a Redskin fan, going to sit here and dispute that. I don't think he's a top 10 corner in this league. I think he's on the next tier, and I think he's damn good when healthy.
He's
and
going off his
take
Pro
health out of
Football
it.
Focus.
Yeah, I know.
rating.
But listen, Pro Football Focus can be massaged and it can be manipulated into whatever we want it to be
Oh, sure.
for the standard fan. I'm sure it's like Zillow for a real estate agent and Redfin. Real estate agents can't stand it. General managers want to choke Pro Football Focus out. I'm certain of it. My deal with him is $3.25 million and nothing's guaranteed. And he was a big proponent of the firing of the training staff here. He had some issues
yes.
that were problematic to him.
He ended the
It's-
season on the
it's-
IR.
He did, and then he's been hurt
Again.
for half of the last 2 seasons.
Yep.
But when you have no guarantees coming into a contract year where you're about to make money, and let's be fair, he's about
to make a ton of
get
money.
paid one way or another from
Huge.
someone, somehow or some way. And I do understand this. I think he kind of wants to be coddled a little bit, and he wants this new staff to come in and embrace what he did with the old staff. Jay made him a career. Jay made him into a cornerback when he was not going to make the team as a wide receiver.
He was
So-
out of the league.
so his loyalty and allegiance is certainly to Jay Gruden
Yep.
and that staff, and he hasn't been taken in yet and embraced warmly. And I understand it's a situation for him. We can't be mad at that. The Redskins can't be mad at that because here's the deal: if we do lose him, there's no guarantee. We're not losing any money, but we certainly are losing a starting cornerback, and that stinks. I think we can get a second-round pick for him in a trade. We can get.
He
put it
has
this way,
value. He has
It
value.
is on this new regime to get the value for him if he does decide to leave.
Yeah, that's
and,
true.
and that's a possibility.
But
That's
the-
true.
the-
I mean, this is bad. In
It's
that
ahead.
business. It's
Easy.
football.
It's
It's what
as
it
bad
is.
as in it's just his dirty way of saying there ain't no way I'm playing here regardless.
That's not what he's saying. That's what the Trent Williams
Nah,
said.
he
I'm
doesn't
saying
want to
that
get.
would be the
He
bad-
doesn't
that
want to
would
get
be
hurt
the-
before he signs his
that would
big
be the
deal.
worst end.
He has no guarantee,
Right.
no matter what happens to him this year. So he's in a very precocious situation.
Precarious.
Precocious?
I think it's
Precarious.
precocious.
What's precocious?
It's somewhat precocious.
Not sure what precocious
Yes.
is.
I would be remiss if I didn't suggest that it was precocious was possible.
If I
here.
keep saying these words that have all these weird things to them, I'm going to stop. I don't blame him. I don't blame the Redskins. This is one of these weird football things. We have to get through it.
So-
Let's not make him the bad guy. is
It's
what
not
I'm
even a
saying.
weird football
But we don't have to
thing.
root for him
It's a
either.
standard
We got to sit
football
back
thing.
and wait for this shit to unfold.
He's 1 year away from a contract.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any value in the NFL and you're 1 year away from a contract, you are freaked out because the injury rate in the NFL is so crazy that we don't even
Absolutely.
think about it. He knows that at starting quarterback, a starting corner that's highly regarded, however you want to rank him, he's a highly regarded starting cornerback. If he hits the market, he's worth minimum guaranteed money of that seven. But it's not just the 1 year. Right now, he's got 1 year of guaranteed compensation if he can play for the Redskins. The next contract for him is his whole life because he's getting a huge nut right up front, and he's going to have a huge guaranteed portion. If he doesn't survive the season,
do you
he doesn't get it.
capitulate and try to work out a deal?
Well, so you try to, if you can pay a market, you
Is he
pay a
worth that?
market. You pay a market. I don't think if we have to spend another $1 million or $2 million on a guy like him, I think he's playing the game. I think the Redskins can play the game. To what Kevin's point is that at the point in time in which you say screw it, and Ron Rivera says this isn't what I signed up for, there's teams that will give you something really, really valuable for him. Washington Redskins currently don't have a second-round pick. You can get a second-round pick for a starting quarterback who's making less than the league average.
And I do believe this. And this new regime, this new culture change that we're going for, this is not what we're looking for. I understand that. And it's not, as a fan. It is part of the deal. So it's something we're going to have to deal with. But if the guy does not want to be here, who says trade him and get rid of it, they're going to figure out a way to do it. It would be my guess.
We're not going to cut off our nose to spite our face.
No.
The way Bruce Allen loved to do.
Exactly. No, not at all. This is we're about to see how this new regime functions. I'm kind of excited to see how they take on these problematic situations. And, we'll get to it, I'm certain. But I love the fact that we've made the first step to reach out because Bruce Allen didn't. He sat there, Trent Williams.
Yeah, that's right.
And we made the decision to reach out.
Yep.
And I think that's a great first step. And we'll see what happens with Dunbar. But we didn't do that with Trent. And Bruce Allen kept saying, I know what the deal is. You do? You knew you were going to get your ass fired and Trent was going to have a chance to come back to the team? If he knew that, then God bless Bruce Allen. Because we have a chance now to have him back. The weird thing is, and the reason I bring them both up is because Dunbar's money and Trent Williams' money is coming from the same place with the same salary cap, and bringing Trent back could be the reason why we can't deal with Dunbar.
We have to pay. Of course, they kept that money, but it didn't help us. Both these guys are on the books, and if both of them can play for the Washington Redskins next year, we are better off by having the two of those guys starting for the Washington Redskins. I think, talking about the six-pack topic for me, which is what you just touched on, was the Ron Rivera impact. So it's this notion where I want to be honest and give Dan Snyder credit is that he said, I'm doing coach-centric, and Ron Rivera was the answer to that riddle. Because Ron Rivera is the perfect guy for the Washington Redskins to turn to. And I think we will see his impact. We will see what he is willing to put up with and what he's not. Ron Rivera is no dummy. He was a player. He knows these guys are risking. He knows exactly what they're risking between the whistles in a way that no one can that hasn't played. And so he's not going into this thinking Quinton Dunbar's a bad guy because he's doing this. He is not thinking that at all.
And I don't think he is.
He is not. And he will decide if there's nonsense there and he wants to be no nonsense, he'll get rid of the nonsense. But I'm not smelling straight nonsense yet. To me, this is a classic. If you're in the final year of your contract and you're making below the league average and you're in the prime of your career and you're as highly regarded as Quinton Dunbar is, then you do this. You don't go to OTAs. You request a trade or a release. These are, to me, this is standard operating procedure.
This is the agent playing a game.
That's right.
Absolutely. He saw what happened to Reuben Foster in OTAs last year. That happens to him. He never gets that payday. Right. So I understand that it's nerve-wracking for himself, his family. He's making less than 50% of the league average at a position where he's certainly well above average. We've established that.
Yep.
So I see this needing a solution, and let's let it unfold before we start pointing fingers one way or another. I don't think it makes him a bad guy. I don't think it makes us a bad front office. These things need to be figured out, and I can't wait to see how they do it. I'm kind of excited, to be fair. Between him and Trent, I kind of look forward to seeing how this goes down.
It did seem like the initial reaction from most everybody was this was a dick move.
Yeah, boo Dunbar.
Right,
boo that man.
Right. I kind of was like, all right, where is this on the spectrum of bad? You started off by saying start with the bad news. Where is it on that spectrum of bad? I don't know.
It's bad news because it's a first real negative story in the Ron Rivera era. And now I have a question for you guys. Is it the Rivera? I was trying to think, I just put Rivera era, but is it Rivera squared? I don't know. I don't know what the right thing. The Ron Rivera era. We got to put our guys on this whole.
It's
situation.
Ron's era.
The Ron's era. The Ron guys, a little help. The Rivera era. I'm not sure, but the Rivera era.
Do what you guys do.
This is the first speed bump. The first time when everything. It's not that the honeymoon period is over because it's not, but this is when you're like, whoa, crap, we're married. It's like this. It's for real. Because this is a situation you deal with in the NFL. And our defense needs Quinton Dunbar. And if we don't have Quinton Dunbar, we need someone else. Because
I agree with that as well. I want it to be Quinton Dunbar.
I do too.
I love the guy. You know what? I understand him. I understand the Redskins.
Riverboat era.
Riverboat era?
The Riverboat era works for me, James.
All right.
And good evening to you guys. And AGH. And AGH, they have reached out to Trent Williams. Ron Rivera and Trent Williams did have contact.
Yesterday,
We're told
I
it was
believe.
positive. And like Kevin said, an avenue has been created for his return to the Washington Redskins, which we all want. If he wants it and we want it, and he's healthy. That's the biggest thing that we just don't know. And
Well rested.
Well rested, but healthy. If he's healthy, you sign him to an extension, like right this very second, and just get the Trent Williams era back on track, so that it finishes where it belongs to finish, and that's in Washington. I am kind of excited about the possibility that Quinton Dunbar presents for the exact thing that you just said. It's the reaction, the ability. The Washington Redskins on the field and off the field have been terrible in recent years at reacting.
I think probably all fan bases can say that.
Oh, come on, man. I'm talking about
Wow.
our coach.
We live this one.
How about this? Let's see how we're about to handle our business with this situation. That's what I look forward to seeing.
Joe Gibbs went
One
to the
way or
locker room
another.
and came out with a plan. Bobby Beathard went into the offseason and came out with a plan. Charlie Casserly, for goodness sake. And that was kind of like as I was writing it, I was like, Dan Snyder commits to a coach-centric philosophy, brings in Ron Rivera. And this is where he ends up 20 years after he fires Charlie Casserly and keeps Norv Turner, as if he had, of course he brought in Vinny
Yeah,
Serrato.
that's a big F.
But
That's a big bring in.
is it, the Vinny
It's a
factor,
huge side piece.
the huge side piece. But Norv Turner was the coach-centric whatever guy here for like 6 years with Danny and Vinny in the background doing all kinds of crazy things.
Snyder was young then, and if he was married to North Turner, you knew he was going to have a side piece. He wasn't ready for this. Come on, Vinny.
Come on, Vinny.
You handsome
Come
son
on,
of a.
you. God, he could win me over, I'm sure, in person. 'Cause that's,
Oh, you know he was
I've heard his
dazzling,
charm was just
dashing with
off
his
the
slick back
charts.
haircut and his fancy outfits.
James Rainey is here every week, and we cannot, even though James, they're not having their best stretch of the season, the Washington Capitals continue to be to me the story in the NHL. I love the Washington Capitals, as do all great Washington sports fans. And for us Redskins fans who do turn to the Caps in the offseason, I know not everyone on here, Greg Martin's on here. I want to say you're a who was the team in Slapshot? I can't remember.
Dude, what are you doing to Benjamin right
Sorry,
now?
I'm just rubbing that honey jar.
No. That does not look like you're rubbing the honey jar. You're rubbing all the honeys.
Take it easy, T. Take it.
I
Keep it.
just
Hold it
noticed
together,
it.
folks.
I
Hold it
just-
together.
I just noticed it on the video. That
Hold
was
it
kinda
together.
You just went from a brown bear to a grizzly. That's all I've noticed.
I was rubbing the Caps jersey. I was making sure everyone understood he's wearing a Caps jersey. And every time I do it and I see it, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, James. James just said stop molesting Benjamin. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, I'm way too close for what's going to happen next. I don't know how. Whatever.
I want James
He's
to
a bear of a problem
tell
for
me
me.
what to you stands out for the Washington Caps season. You get to be part of the show tonight because you're an awesome Caps fan. And Greg Martin, I know that you're not a Caps fan, but I know you appreciate great DC winners. He's a Yankees fan, and had the Yankees made the World Series, that bottle of Redbreast would be a little bit more in doubt. Maybe. I don't think so. Greg. I think we had it against the Yankees too, but that's just me.
Oh, it was our year.
We had that one.
We had to finish the fight. We didn't care if we were
We had
fighting
to
from
finish
down
the
south.
fight.
Southerners, Yankees, we didn't care.
Sure didn't care. James hasn't come back with his. I don't follow Canadian ice soccer. That's not true, Greg. That's not true.
Can I just say one thing to you?
I've
And
never
listen,
heard it called
I don't want to be.
Canadian ice soccer. That's pretty fun.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be negative about the Caps because
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to. But it just stuck out to me, and I'm a weirdo with the numbers. Man, outside of the Metropolitan Division, they are dominating. They've got 58 points. They're 27-5 with 4 overtime losses. They're crushing everyone. You do realize we have a losing record in the division. That's nuts to me. We got to shore that up here before the playoffs start because that's who we're pretty much going to be dealing with in the first and second round. And 9-10 and 1 overtime loss in the Metropolitan Division. I mean, Pittsburgh and the Islanders and Columbus, Philly, Carolina, the Rangers, and New Jersey, they're giving us the business a little bit.
They are. We're only 2 points ahead of the Penguins.
It's
only
crazy
3
to
points
me.
ahead of the Islanders. So we've been skating, no pun intended, all year long, and we've just been at the top the entire time, and you lose sight of the fact that it's not as. It's a lot closer than it seems. And in fact, we're no longer the points leader in the NHL. I believe the Boston Bruins have 80 points to our 77. So
Yeah, we're tied for second.
yeah, we're tied for second, and we have to clean it up more in the division because first of all, we got 2 teams right on our heels, and man, you get the sense that the playoffs from the Eastern Conference, it's kind of like the Western Conference in the NBA, and I don't know if it's a totally apt comparison, but there's going to be good teams not playing in the playoffs this year in the NHL out of the
Yes.
Eastern Conference.
But I think this is where having won the cup helps them because I think they now know exactly what to expect in order to get there, and they're not going to be pressing. I think they're not going to be. They know what they're doing.
And it's not the year after.
It's not exactly to the exact same team, but you got guys like Ovi who's playing absolutely ridiculous hockey right now at his age, and at this stage, it's unbelievable. But you got guys like that to kind of keep the ship, I think, straight down this tough stretch.
Let's just listen. That was a good thing because I don't mind us. we finished first. We've won the President's Trophy. We've done that. We finished first in the East, first in the Metropolitan, and not done anything. So we don't care about that
Right.
anymore. We've done that with this exact group of guys. We're not worried about
It's
that.
crazy that
So-
we have Ovi still.
Just take care of business. Listen, stop having we have a losing record to the Penguins, the Islanders, the Blue Jackets, the Flyers. We're going to deal with that. We have time to deal with that.
Right now, the
especially heading
goalie
into the playoffs.
situation too is a little bit
It is
shaky.
It is.
I would
It's a
disagree
little
with you.
unnerving.
No, I think it's a great situation. We have
It could
two
kick
really
it-
good goalies.
We do. You're right. I mean, I think Holtby right now is struggling a little bit. And they're not really sure where the young guy is going to be. Whether he's going to be able to do it when it really counts.
Hey,
But you're right. They could be
gotta give him a
two
chance.
that actually find that rhythm at the right time.
we drafted Samsonov. We drafted him the 2015, 2016. So this we're about to get into this next 3 years. Samsonov was a part of the development. We'll talk a little bit. The Caps, by the way, shine when we cover these 3 years. First in the division, first in the conference. First in the division, first in the conference. Second in the division, fourth in the conference. Samsonov as a goalie, James is super high on. I am too. T is right. Until those guys face playoff fire, you don't know. But I think we kind of know about this guy. He's a top draft pick, a global goalie prospect. Because he could start for anybody, and he's starting for us. And everyone keeps saying, because this is a contract year for Holtby. This is to me another DC team with a big time player in a contract year, and I think a lot of teams would be willing to let Holtby walk. I don't think the Caps should let Holtby walk. I think we should re-sign him. I think we should continue to have him and Samsonov. I think our success, and I think the Caps' ability to keep players. How many people
That's
wanted
as
to
long
trade
as
Ovechkin?
Holtby's cool with that.
Oh,
I mean,
he'll be fine. He's going to make his money.
all right.
But
All right.
But we've
Well, he's
we've
gonna
kept
make his
guys.
money, he makes his money.
The Caps have done well because they've kept good players around. Backstrom, Ovechkin, John Carlson, at the Supercore. Wilson's been around for a long time now. All of a sudden, he's a kind of an old timer. They've drafted well around him, but ultimately they've not succumbed to the notion that once a player becomes, you cash in, you let him go and get paid top dollar somewhere else, or you trade him away. The Caps have been a team who've said, we're going to do us. Ovechkin was on his way out, according to a million people who had no idea what they were talking about. 10 years later, he's still scoring 50, 60 goals a year. It's nuts.
There's a better chance that Leon just cut off all his limbs and mailed them to a random address than his pseudo son was going to leave town. But, all right, so we believe the Caps are winning the Stanley Cup this year.
I think they're a contender. The cool thing about hockey is it really is 2 seasons. All of us who are watching these games and enjoying the regular season, it's fun. We've watched a million great regular seasons of hockey. When the playoffs start, in every sport they always talk about 2 seasons. The Stanley Cup playoffs, I put it above everything else. I honestly do. I think the Stanley Cup playoffs there's no comparison in sports. The way that if you
to
win
a Super Bowl.
All right.
No, to win the Stanley Cup.
I
the
strenuously
difficulty.
object, but
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
my
fine.
opinion.
To get through the NHL playoffs, by the time the person,
I know, but
I'm just saying.
I know what you're saying, but I think it's very similar to Major League Baseball playoffs. 90 things have to happen right for your team to win it all at the end,
But
and
nothing
I'd
is as
much prefer to
physical.
watch the NFL playoffs. And I'm an NBA guy, so
I'd rather watch the NFL playoffs too. But all I'm saying is, if you win the Stanley Cup title, you've just played an extra 2 months almost of the most
it's
grueling hockey.
It's grueling.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's a totally different game. You're right.
No, there's what other sport do things change and become so drastically different? And that's why the teams that the Washington Capitals put together under Bruce Boudreau, and even to a certain degree when Barry Trotz first got here,
You
best
do
in the
you,
league.
man. Just like the Caps do the Caps. You do
I know,
you.
but also by grueling, what Ken's talking about is how horrible it's been upon us over the years. So that's got to be part of it.
Understood.
Because it's been horrible. Minus one glorious season.
But just to finish my whining thought, we were built to win in the regular season, and that was fun. But we weren't built to win in the playoffs, and we didn't. And the changeover was minor. There was Dale Hunter came in, Adam Oates came in. These guys came in with ideas on how to make us better in the playoffs, and none of them worked. Barry Trotz pushed the right buttons. Todd Reardon is picking up that same system. The heavy game. We talk about the running defense in the NFL. We talk about linebackers and people willing to put their nose in and take hits. And stopping the run in the NFL is a business decision on every single play. In the NHL in the playoffs, it's constant business decisions and guys going full speed at each other in a way they just don't during the regular season. It's fun, and anyone who doesn't watch the regular season, the NHL playoffs are incredibly
They're
viewed.
intense.
And
They're
then
intense.
people tune in
They're
just for it.
intense. You're right. They're intense to watch. You're for sure. I don't know if I put it at the top of my.
Look at you,
viewing list.
back on the ice again. Here,
No.
the hockey podcast portion of our
Yeah,
evening
sorry.
must be coming
Hey,
to a close.
James, thank you so much. I had to get that off my chest. I know it's not the Caps don't stir all the Kool-Aid the way that our other teams do. And Craig Martin, I do appreciate your Dumb and Dumber references. Samsonov, I was so close, was definitely the winner. And no, Benjamin's not flashing you now, James, but I appreciate the
No.
with a different angle. it
He's
might have
still
been
full
different.
solid from what I've noticed.
Yes. Hey guys, we've been teasing it all day, and I think it's time we
You
talk
talking
about
about Benjamin again?
Yes,
dude? What the hell?
yes. We're going to cover three years tonight. We're not going to do it the way we did in the first week. I'm just going to start out with the 2015 season. Guys, best coach in DC for the 2015 season. Any voters?
I'm gonna say Jay.
Okay.
You going with Jay?
You going with Jay?
What was the record that year? Am I getting that mixed up?
He was
No, 9
First place in the
7,
East.
First place in the East. You know what?
Playoff appearance.
I don't know. That T and I aren't going to disagree. I'm going to go with Jay as well. We won
That's when I felt okay with
after
Jay.
here's why. He was ballsy enough to say, F you, Dan Snyder. I'm going with Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
And then he went ahead and at 9-7 won an NFC East. But that was exciting. And it was essentially a championship game in the division that was the cool part of that season. Watching Tony Romo chuck the ball to us multiple times and taking down the Cowboys in Week 17 for an NFC East. That's why I'm going
We
to go.
started off 3-5. So once again, a Redskins team with a slow start. We actually did react, I suppose, better in that situation because we finished the season with a 4-game winning streak. The win over Dallas. Quentin Dunbar was an undrafted free agent signee that year. McLovin drafted Sheriff, Crowder, and Austin Reeder, a center. You know how I love centers. We drafted him that year. By the way, he just played for
Super
Kansas City.
Bowl champion Austin Reeder,
Austin Reeder
Yeah.
out of South
Alabama.
Florida. South Florida.
I was guessing.
Joe Barry was a defensive coordinator who we cannot ever forget about. That Joe Barry led a Redskins defense to the playoffs is noteworthy. That he didn't go through any fast food drive-thrus naked is just also got to put that on his resume.
Okay.
He made it through because
All
I
right.
believe he couldn't always
Congratulations.
say that. He couldn't always say that.
Listen, man, we play in the playoffs. I was always freaked out by that game. And it really, I don't know. We go up 2-0 because Joe Barry's defense decided to sack Aaron Rodgers for a safety. Preston Smith, I believe.
Yes, it was.
2-0. Our boy Dustin Hopkins kicks a field goal. We're now winning 5-0, T. And we're all watching like, okay, we're up 2-0. No, we're up 5-0.
We get some bad weather. If they call this
Five.
game,
And then,
this is the final.
5-0.
and then Jordan Reed catches, I think, it was like a 20-yard touchdown pass, and we went for 2 and didn't get it, which puts us up 11-0. Whoever did squares that day and thought they had decent numbers got totally dogged. And then, of course, Aaron Rodgers goes on a 17-0 run. We come out, score again, and they close us out with an 18-0 run. It was just such a weird deal, but Joe was not ready for Aaron that day.
It
And
was.
we weren't ready to win a playoff game that day. We were just fine taking care of the NFC East on Week 17.
Greg Martin said it also, Kevin.
What?
We couldn't handle the Aaron Rodgers hurried us up, and he did it.
Yeah, no,
that was in the height of
that
Aaron
was not-
Rodgers' hurry
We
up.
were not ready for
No.
that level of offense or football. We were not ready. I don't care if we were at home or not. We weren't ready.
And
Aaron Rodgers proved who.
it was the
And
height.
Kirk Cousins had his best game of his career for the Redskins against Green Bay earlier in the regular season.
Yeah,
and
in a win.
was ridiculous. That wasn't going to happen again, boys.
This was, by the way, the height of the Redskins story for this 3-year period. So we spent a little bit of extra
Dude,
time
they were
on it.
24, 23-1 during that 3-year span. Winning record over this time.
Yes. Hey, you know how I feel
Just
about
saying.
you know how I feel about the 2016 Redskins. Matt Williams, Barry Trotz, and Randy Whitman round out your coaches. The Caps were second in the Metro. finished outside of the playoffs.
It was a
I'm
good
sorry,
time to be a DC sports fan.
that was the Nationals. They finished second in
It was a good time to be a DC sports fan, for sure. I remember us
In the
being
East.
very high on the fact that this was a DC sports town. Right around that time is when we really were touting how good it was around here, really, when we really thought about it.
And we
We
didn't
hadn't won
mention the
anything,
biggest part of that.
But we were close.
The biggest part of that fandom was the youngest unanimous MVP at 22 years old for the Nats.
That's right.
Bryce Harper had one of the greatest top 10 seasons in the history of the sport
I
at the
think
plate.
A
He hit
war
three-
of 10 or more.
He hit 330, had 42 home runs and 99 RBIs. I mean, holy crap. No wonder, we were pretty excited about that dude. Now, that was obviously, that wasn't the same. I think he hit 243 the next season or something like that. Whatever it was. He totally cooled off.
Yeah, we didn't make the playoffs that year. I was wrong. We were fourth in the wild card race, so two out. Wilson Ramos was our batting average leader. Gio Max and Jordan Zimmerman, JZ, each had 30-plus starts, which is pretty awesome. Adam LaRoche
I
era
love that guy.
over. And that's when Ryan Zimmerman moved from third base to first.
Was that year, 2015?
2015 Nationals, 83 and 79. It was a winning record, not good enough.
Thought he
Barry
did that
Trotz
before then.
did take the Caps to the playoffs. They lost to the Rangers in the second round. Randy Whitman took the Wizards, the 46 and 36 Wizards, to the conference semifinals where they lost to the Atlanta Hawks.
Over 500.
Yeah. Actually
Paul
won
Pierce.
a playoff series.
A lot
beat
better
Toronto.
than the days
Paul
they were
Pierce.
winning 23
He
games.
called game against Toronto.
He called game.
He called game against Toronto.
Called game against Toronto.
That's only like 3 years removed from winning 23 games in a season.
Oh yeah. No, the Randy Whitman had a 2-year stretch. I believe it was the 2013, 2014, and 2014, 2015 team where they got some wins. They didn't have that 2 handle on their W total.
Tell you what, I need to have something to scratch my throat.
There you go, T. Best coach in 2016, everybody. Who was it in DC?
Say it again.
Best coach in DC for the 2016 season, and it was
It's getting a little dusty in here for me.
not Jay Gruden or Barry Trotz. Although I have Barry Trotz as my
Was that Dusty's
God.
first year?
yes, it was.
Yeah.
Dusty comes in here. They tried to hire Bud Black and then went back to Dusty because of financials.
By the
and
way,
they paid
did you see
Dusty
that
like a ham
contract?
sandwich.
They offered Bud Black like a cup of decaf, like a cup of Senka. It wasn't even like real coffee.
No, that's what we do. We don't pay.
A 1-year deal. A 1-year
That's good.
deal on a new
Manny's
manager.
on a freaking $1 million a year type scenario.
Dusty Baker comes in 95 and 67, first place in the division, second place in the conference, or the NL, I should say. We lost to the Dodgers in 5 games in the National League
Oh, that was
Divisional
brutal.
Series. It was brutal. Giolito, now Chicago White Sox pitcher, debuted that year. Coda Glover, my man,
Yeah,
debuted
you
that
can
year.
have him.
John Papelbon was actually our leader in saves that year. Max won his first Cy Young. Anthony Rendon got
First
comeback
National
player
League
of
Cy
the
Young.
year. First National League Cy Young. First Cy Young with the Nats. And the little spoiler alert, he wasn't finished.
Yeah, and Murphy and Ramos won Silver Sluggers that year. Murphy was a bad,
He was the
bad,
player's
bad
choice
dude.
for
Badass.
National
Yes,
League
he was.
Outstanding
Yeah,
player.
he was. He hit 347 with 25 dingers and 104
And when he got hurt
RBIs.
the next year?
I loved Murph. His launch angle and his
Launch.
I
angle.
love him talking. He was such a great Nat. I wish he could have won a ring with us.
Hey,
I
to
love
all
him.
of our board guys, launch angle. All right, launch angle is a great term, and anytime you can drop launch angle, you should always drop launch angle. What are some other great sports terms that you just love to say? To me, launch angle is one of them.
Sack.
A sack is great. Sack is great. I know. Greg and James got some, but I'm just saying, launch angle was a thing. It still is a thing, and Dan Murphy made it a thing. Barry Trotz. Listen, this was his second year in town. First place in the division. First place in the conference. We drafted Ilya Samsonov. Beat the Flyers in the first round. Lost to the Penguins in the second round. 4-2. Spoiler
Again.
alert. No. Well, this was the before again.
Yeah, before again.
The second one was the
Ovi caught 50 that year again. I know that we just say that so casually.
56 wins. It was a 56-win team. T was wearing this jersey all over town that Benjamin's now wearing. The Caps were flying high. We got just worked. Our
Says
nads.
Strachan on the back.
Our nads were worked like a speed bag, by the playoff gods yet again. And unfortunately they kept working our dads like a speed bag for a few seasons more. And
You're saying sports terms.
You
Listen,
always got to make it weird.
Benjamin right now with T's hockey jersey on is definitely worried about load management. I don't know if you want to get that back to the crib.
I was waiting for you to say that.
sorry.
I'm
sorry.
I softballed
I'm
it up
sorry.
down the strike
I
zone.
know you did.
Load management
know.
is a huge
Listen.
thing right now.
I know, but you had that look in your eye, and I didn't want to say it.
Randy Whitman was a 500 coach for the Wizards. We missed the playoffs. Buell and Wall did their thing. We drafted Kelly Oubre, who is still in the league. The Washington Redskins under Jay Gruden in 2016 were 8-7-1. Yes, a winning record. They had back-to-back winning records for the first time in forever, and we hung on to that one with the tie.
5 Pro Bowlers. on that team.
Williams,
Oh my God.
Kerrigan, Reed, Sheriff, Kirk Cousins rounded out their Pro Bowlers for the Washington Redskins. This was a McLovin draft.
That was the year Cousins had that nice tackle after he threw the interception.
There you go. You guys, this was not a good draft for McLovin to rest
it was
his.
really bad.
Now, we did get Matt Ioannidis. We did. And we did draft Kendall Fuller.
And I remember, and I agree with that. And when I saw that, I remember
gets
you
worse.
saying in your Hogs Haven 6-pack, you said Matt Ioannidis is like the guy you play against on the basketball court that picks you up full court and bodies you the guy you don't want to defend you at a pickup basketball
Ever.
game. Well, I think he has definitely lived up to that and surpassed it. Hasn't he?
Yes,
I know.
yes.
That was your call from that draft, and thank God you had a call because everyone else is playing in the XFL right now or is watching you casually rest your forearm on Benjamin's dong and everything else is happening.
It's a honey
It's
pot.
a beer.
It's his honey.
I always thought it was a beer.
Stuart Cravens and Josh
Whatever.
Jackson came out of the first 2 rounds of that draft, and let's just be honest. Greg,
Oh, that was the worst.
you
that
got
was
that.
a bad one.
Yeah,
that
you
was a
got it.
bad one.
It was
First,
bad.
second, we were so excited about catch radius and defensive athleticism and him able to play multiple spots and blah blah.
And him being Jon Snow.
Yeah, they took a dump on each other. And
Well, we had
Still
a
our
guy.
highest rated show.
It was one of our highest rated show. We had a guy from TCU come on. I wish I could know his name because he deserves to have his name remembered because he knew TCU football. The one thing he didn't know was how much Josh Jackson was going to be terrible for us.
the Horned Frog himself.
So we were all high on Doc, and who knows?
You
Maybe
got to
he'll
kiss a
have-
few frogs before you find your prince.
He should be in the.
Prince Terry
Freaking
McLaurin.
XFL.
He needs a better nickname. We got to work on that too.
We're working on it.
Scary Terry's just disgusting.
It's not good.
Horrible.
We can do better.
No,
We're better than that.
He hates it. We hate it.
He does hate it.
Mac the
It's
knife.
terrible. Scary Terry. Like, come on, dude. It's not Garbage Pail Kids.
'Cause he's scary good.
Ah,
It was meant to be complimentary.
yeah. I mean,
Mac for life. We're gonna come up with something good. We're gonna come up with something good. The 2016 season. We talk about the Redskins. We have to because at 2016 at 8-7-1, still kind of riding high for what was to come.
back-to-back winning seasons for the first time in
Yeah,
like.
let's just hang our hats.
Yeah.
And listen,
Oh, you had your tie in London. You loved that.
I did not love that.
You did. You loved
You
it.
did love the tie.
You loved it.
I didn't love the tie. That day
Kevin
was
loved
terrible.
talking about the tie.
It was the day after Halloween. I showed up to someone's house for a tailgate. I hope you, Robbie and Annie, you're in Disney World tonight, so I assume you're watching this podcast. They're actually in Orlando. I showed up to their house 5 o'clock in the morning to start the tailgate on time for an away game, which was in London. It started at 9 a.m., so the tailgate had to start at 5 a.m., and I was there. Now, I had been at a Halloween party. This was like the day after Halloween. I was at a Halloween party the night before. I had like an hour and a half of sleep. I show up in my Wayne, dressed as Wayne from Wayne's World, and it was actually a halfway decent costume. I had just enough of the Wayne gut. I crushed it. It was the longest game in the history of the NFL, and I drank like the seventh inning never came. There was no last call. That day did not end well for me, and the fact that we lost
It
that
was
game.
the morning.
It was-
It wasn't the day yet.
Oh, the day happened. The day was terrible. Ties are terrible to watch, but on the score sheet, they help a good team. I've always made that case. And I've lost because we weren't a good team. We lost to the freaking Giants in Week 17. The Giants were giving the game away, and we said, you know
Thanks,
what?
Kirk.
No, Dominic
Hey.
Rogers Cromartie, you can just intercept us twice and steal a game that you have no business winning.
Can I just give a positive from that
Please.
season? That season, in Week 15, the Carolina Panthers came to town. We were favored to win, and it would have kept us in the playoff hunt. It was a big deal for us.
Yeah.
and they beat the ever-living shit out of us at the line of scrimmage on offense and on defense. I think Jonathan Stewart rushed for 128 yards.
Sure he did.
Cam Newton threw for over 300 yards that day. Kirk Cousins threw for about 315, something like that.
Yep.
And was the leading rusher with 11 yards. They physically mauled us at the line of scrimmage. They did not let us run the ball the way we had been running the ball in our wins to be effective that season. Our leading rusher that day, I believe,
KC.
was Kirk Cousins with 11
Didn't we go up?
yards.
And he never ran a QB sneak.
And I think he had 3 interceptions.
Can
that
I
day
ask
as
you a
well.
question? Was that the game where there was an interception that
No,
got
that
called
was
back?
the Giants.
The Carolina Panthers game. Wasn't that the game where there was an interception that on replay was clearly an interception and they called it not an interception and we were up like 14-0 and we lose the game?
Yes.
That was the Panthers.
It was a play on the sidelines. It was a pick six.
It was a pick six.
It was
our
a pick six, and there was a ridiculous call, and everyone argued it. What was it? What was it? Someone help out on the board.
Help
there
out
was
on
a
the
pick
board.
six in the flat, and
It got erased.
That something happened. They took it back, and
For
it was
like a total bullshit
And
reason.
from
like
that
neutral
point
zone-
forward,
neutral
we got
zone
the shit kicked
infraction or
out of us.
something.
like the ever-loving shit kicked
But
out
the
of
good thing is they weren't supposed to kick the crap out of us the way they did. But at the line of scrimmage, we got mauled. We had to throw an offense. We couldn't run. They ran the ball up our ass and threw the ball all around. And that was a Ron Rivera special.
So uncomfortable.
That was Ron Rivera.
The
You're
joke's on
uncomfortable?
you, Carolina. We finished with a winning record that year.
And now we got your riverboat gambler.
Riverboat Gambler,
Oh, was it a hit on Olsen?
probably.
That's what
Maybe
it was.
That's what it was.
That's what it was. It was a helmet to helmet. Someone.
it wasn't helmet
Greg
to helmet.
Martin
And it-
chimed in
Yes,
first.
there you go. I knew it was something egregious, and everyone was so pissed about it. And I remember thinking, yes, that was terrible, and momentum, and blah, blah, blah. But from that point forward, they manhandled us. We were ragdolled. So if that's the case, if that's what we're building our team into now, let's start ragdolling some fools.
It got worse. But let me ask you guys a question. Who was the best coach in Washington, D.C. in 2017?
Well, it's going to have to be Dusty Baker for me.
Okay. I'm going Barry Trotz. You know what? Screw that. I'm going Dusty Baker. I went Barry Trotz the previous year. Dusty Baker picks it up in his second year.
97 wins.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
Was that Trotz's last year?
No, it was not.
No.
No, it wasn't. We have
He
a
wasn't,
huge
he
next
wasn't
week.
ready yet for the big year.
Yeah, next week we
He
have
had
a
a big
big
year.
Barry Trotz here.
That's a tough call between the two of them, to be honest with you.
It's yeah. They were so the Washington Capitals were first in the division,
I
first
like
in the league,
Trotz. I
second
like him.
straight year President's Trophy, and unfortunately for the Capitals, the second straight year we lost to the Penguins in the second round of the playoffs. Trust me, again, Nads, speed bag, playoff gods. It's just I mean, we beat the Maple Leafs in a first round series.
Well, the Nats playoff loss was the biggest speed bag to the Nats of all time. I told you guys I was at my cousin's wedding. Shout out Connor Jeffers, diehard sports fan around this area. Up in Avalon, New Jersey, we're at a Philly Eagles bar. It was Thursday night football, and the Eagles were playing. The Eagles were playing
Why
on
would you
Thursday
be
night
there?
football. It was a wedding, dude. Well, why wouldn't I be there?
Ugh.
But we got up there a night early, and the Eagles were playing on Thursday night football, and they let us go to the back room. And you could tell everyone cheering their ass off at the bar for the Eagles knew we were Nats fans, and they put the game on after the Eagles game ended, and were visibly, audibly cheering against us because that's what Eagles fans do.
Yeah, of course.
And there's like people dressed up nicely and reading for, and then that third inning went haywire and everything all hell in the handbasket. There was 2 catchers interferences. There was 3 errors. There was wild pitches. There was it was horrendous. That was a horrible DC sports experience for me. You don't leave town with a big heart for DC and have anyone that you think is going to actually care about your situation. And they didn't, and we had to leave. I had to leave before the game ended. I love Dusty Baker. I love that team. His post-game press conferences were awesome. That's why he's my coach of the year. And
He's a good man.
he's a good man.
He's a good man, and I'm as much as total side Dusty Baker note, who is now coaching the Houston Astros, who's basically there to babysit a terrible situation. This is a classic sports position. It doesn't matter what sport it is. Prize franchise, goes through a crazy bad scandal, and you got to bring somebody in with a little bit of panache, somebody who has a little bit of name and weight to come in and steady the ship. I don't think the Houston Astros are finished feeling the brunt of what's happening
Just
right
getting
now.
started.
It's just getting started, and Dusty Baker is absolutely the right guy for that job. He doesn't deserve what's going to happen to the Houston Astros this year. And that we should all be very honest about what's going to happen. They're going to get booed out of parks. No one's going to be able to hear the banging of trash cans. Trust me, when people are going to let them know how they feel. And is that fair? We could do a whole show on that, on the gray area in sports and where people live inside of it, and how the Houston Astros are wearing the burden of the blame for something that probably a lot of people do, but they did it to a level that wasn't done. Dusty Baker is going to inherit a great roster.
Broke the code.
They broke the code, but Dusty Baker gets a great roster. They're still one of the best teams in baseball on paper, in between the left field.
No
and right
Walt
field lines.
Harris though. We got him now.
We got him.
Yeah.
No, exactly. How
Premier reliever in the American
Premier
League,
leaguer.
perhaps. So
I think that Dusty Baker is he's in a good spot because he has a good team, and he is excellent at insulating himself and creating the bubble that he wants. If he wants a bubble, there'll be a bubble. And the Houston Astros are good this year. It'll be because of Dusty Baker, because they're going to go through some stuff. And I'm it's as a Washington Nationals fan, kind of coming back to the DC sports side of things. I feel I'm the least, and I think maybe I'll speak for us all, the least mad at Houston that you could possibly be, because we beat their ass. First of all, we beat their ass.
I listen. I'm still having anxiety about if we lost.
But we didn't.
I
know.
It would have been a DC Sports
I know.
cherry on top
and it
of the
didn't happen
turd.
like that. I know, but that's what I'm saying. I can't.
I know,
be
but
mad
that
at
pisses
Houston.
me off that we were in that position in hindsight.
I know, but exactly. Kevin, trust me, we dodged a classic DC bullet, but we did, and so with the World Series, and we did it down there. We won all our games there, and so as a DC sports fan, I have no animosity towards Houston whatsoever, and let the chips fall where they may. Dusty Baker that year, 97 wins. What we're not talking about is Scott Brooks' 49 wins, which was crazy. First place in the division, fourth place in the East. We made it to the conference semis and lost in a 7-game series to Boston. Kelly, what's his face?
Olynyk.
Yeah, why doesn't
Kelly
he get
Olynyk.
a nod for
Kelly
that year?
Olynyk.
Kelly Olynyk killed us.
Oh.
Who is Kelly Olynyk, and why is he killing us?
Oh, you bastard! Canadian dude that played at Gonzaga
With a
I believe.
ponytail.
Yeah, he did.
He
All
had-
right, was it a man bun?
He had a man bun.
He had a man bun.
He also
Even worse.
let it flow. He did not miss a shot against us in that series.
Did he have a dog and a latte?
Isaiah Thomas was a beast against us in that series.
Did he have a chihuahua and a latte too?
No, he didn't
No.
Sanchez it. He didn't dirty Sanchez it. But I'll tell you what, that year, John Wall and Bradley Beal both averaged 23.1. That's nasty. They were formidable.
49
and hopefully we can
wins.
get back to that.
That's a
49 wins
big
is great.
deal.
If they got to 50, I'd have named Scotty Brooks the coach of the year.
I know.
Dusty was so cool in post game, and you watch those baseball games with your family. At least I do at home. I'm just saying, it's the heartstrings being tugged.
Daniel Murphy, Silver Slugger,
Dude,
second year in a row.
He was so great.
Ryan Zimmerman, comeback player of the year.
Yep.
Max Scherzer, second Cy Young
Another
as a
side.
national.
I know.
Number 2.
Lost to the Cubs in the NLDS. It's tough.
Brutal game 5.
These are the years. Okay, so if I can just, hey, which camera are we on? Camera 1? Camera 2? Camera 1? Okay. Hey, guys, let me tell you something right now. When we started doing this show, this is where we were. This 3 pages. This is where Kevin, Ken, and T were. We were living and breathing all these 3 years. This is exactly when we started. No titles. 8-7-1-ness. Trying to celebrate a 46-win Randy Whitman team. Trying to understand why our Capitals, who were first in the world and everything, couldn't get past the freaking Penguins 2 years in a row. Trying to understand why Dusty Baker turning in these mid-90-win seasons, why we couldn't break through. We weren't breaking through anywhere. And in Washington Redskins territory, we were breaking the opposite
Bad.
way. Yeah, we were breaking bad, T.
Dude,
We
5
were.
out of 6 Caps Wizards were second round losses. 5 out of 6 seasons were second round losses. Skins with 1, and the Nats with 2.
This is
First round losses.
This is what we were living.
We were just getting to the playoffs, which we hoped for so badly, and then we were just getting invert Benjamins. It was just
We were getting
terrible.
invert Benjamin.
It was terrible.
And so I'll ask you two guys this, and I'm springing this on you. T loves when I do this. we started getting together on Tuesday nights and drinking whiskey and talking sports during these years. This was when it started. You know what?
I'm not gonna cry, Roy.
Don't you even think about it, Mister. What stands out to you? One thing, and it can be anything. I mean, Redskins. I know there's a lot of Redskins guys on here, but one thing, like what stood out to you? Because this is right before things turned in just a huge way for us. One thing. We talked a lot about a lot of things.
Were these the franchise tag years of Kirk?
All right,
Yes.
I'm going to
Yeah,
say.
I think that dominated a lot of our discussions.
I was going to say Jay Gruden standing up to Dan Snyder and playing the guy that he wanted to in order to be the guy, and it worked in year one and won us an NFC East title. I think that was big because around here, Dan Snyder was in charge, and we knew it, whether he was doing it years before in front of a camera, years after from behind the scenes.
Yep.
We all knew he wielded that horrible stick of power as he dangled his feet off the toilet, which I love to say all the time. I
love it too.
But when Jay just said, you know what, I'm going to be stuck at the hip with whoever I name here. I'm going to go with the guy I think I could do the best with. And the big guy might not like it, but he's going to have to. What is he going to say? All right, well, what happens at the end of the year? Well, we beat the Cowboys in week 17 for the NFC East title. A huge moment. We had a home playoff game for the first time since freaking '99, I believe. So things were looking good for me right then and there. That's what stuck out.
Did we host a game in the 2012 season against?
Oh yeah, Seahawks. Sorry, I put that ACL out of my mind. I apologize.
Understood.
Up 14-0,
understood.
about to be up 21-0.
I'm just making sure I have the right pages here.
No,
Yeah,
you're right.
you're
You're right. Sorry.
Yeah,
Well, I'm known to blank some of that stuff out. I'm good at
I would blank it out too.
compartmentalizing.
But
And
it was a turning point in I don't know a player coach relationship you want to see. I agree with you.
owner coach is what I was
coach.
going for.
And the Kirk Cousins franchise years, I'll never forget when we first
That's all we
started doing
talked
it.
about.
We were talking about we
Well, I
called
just-
our shot on that one. We knew it was coming.
Yeah.
We girded our loins. We knew
I
it was
thought
coming.
all along that Jay did not want to be. I mean, Kirk did not want to be here.
You did.
I don't put this
You
on
did.
Jay. Greg Martin says if Jay had stuck up for Kirk, Kirk would still be here. I don't even agree. I don't think Kirk wanted to be here. I think Kirk liked Jay. I think Kirk hated everything else, and he just did not want to be here.
He didn't like the cheerleader
feel
uniforms.
appreciated.
We knew that.
He
Too
was
much
he
cheek.
had already moved on, and I had settled on that early on in this whole thing. I knew he was gone.
Yep.
But it dominated. I thought that dominated headlines for way too long. That whole Kirk fiasco.
There's still media locally talking about every freaking quarter he plays, every pass. Get over it. He's done. I'm not worried about any of that. We don't compare or contrast any of that.
I got to tell you guys. So, and I'm gonna stay Redskins here because I watched all these Nats and Wizards games.
Nats.
in
Nats with a T.
Nats.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Just clarify.
I watched all these Nats with Wizards and Caps games. There was not a single year in the three that we covered where the Washington Nationals, the Washington Capitals, and the Washington Wizards didn't finish at 500 or better. That's a fact.
How many
it was
division
good.
titles did we win in that
It was
stretch?
good around here.
A ton.
1, 2, 3,
We had a
4,
good-
5.
A ton.
Yeah.
Didn't have it
We,
great.
we won
had
a
it
ton
good.
of
We won
division titles.
3 division titles in 2017. We won 2 division titles in 2015, 2016. We won 1 division title, which was the Redskins in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
If you were a DC sports fan, you turn on your TV on the average day, you watch a team win.
You had it
And
good.
You might have watched
You had it
multiple
good.
team wins.
Not great. You had it good.
The
So let me-
Redskins had a winning record over that span.
So let me give you my Redskins. Let me get in touch with my feelings for Redskins with you guys. Because when we started talking about doing a show, we started getting together to talk sports, and I was like, we got to do a Redskins show in Hawks Haven because I do Hawks Haven, and I love the we all love the Redskins, and I go to every game. I went to every game. I only missed a couple games in 20 years. This past year, this is the first year I didn't go to a single game in over 20 years. But in this period of time is when things changed for me as a Redskins fan. And everyone talks about, like, if you're close to the team, it'll kill your soul. I grew up loving nothing more than the Washington Redskins, as did we all. And it's just I make no apologies. We make no apologies. It's important to me, in my life, and it just is, and
You love it.
I
I
love
love
it,
it.
and
T
and
loves it.
I thought we were in the tree.
it's always been that
He's-
way.
I'm getting nervous.
It will.
We're in the tree, Ken. Keep going.
It's more of a bush. The big
like,
bear with the big
things-
boner standing right behind us.
This is when things changed for me. When we went to, when they gave us McLovin, and we can argue all day about how good he was at picking players, but we got a guy who picked players. That was a big deal because we didn't have a guy who picked players ever under Dan Snyder. And then in 2017 we had no GM. And we hired Bruce. And we had Bruce Allen. It's Kirk Cousins last season. We signed Terrell Pryor, DJ Swearinger. Like things were bad. We were up 31-16 against the New Orleans Saints on the road in a game that mattered, in a game that any NFL football team really should win. Like any team at all. If you're not a terrible, it's like when bad things happen to terrible people. Like that game, the way that it worked out, and we went to overtime and lost that game. That's when things started sinking in for me about where we were
We
as
were
an
putting
organization.
some lipstick on some pigs at that time too, though.
We were, but I hadn't gotten there yet. People got there way faster than me. I was at FedEx every single game, and in 2017, that's when things and I was at the Kansas City game. I was at all those situations where it should have been terrible, but I was also at that Sean Taylor, fake field goal
yeah.
block. All the things that I felt as a Redskins fan changed in 2017. And I can't get away from it. When I go through this, I can't get away from the fact that was the year, 2017. That was the year when I was like, oh my God, like we might just be doomed to this in a way that I never thought was possible.
See that game, that Saints game you're talking about, that gave me a false sense of there was a collision between Chris Thompson, Kirk Cousins, and
yeah.
somebody else.
Yeah, I know. And I thought everyone
And
died.
Kirk Cousins and Chris Thompson did not
Laid on
get
the
up.
ground.
And they did not get up, and they came up, and they finally got him off the field somehow or another, and it was 4th and 4, and Jay Gruden faked a punt for a first down. And I remember thinking, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. What a ballsy decision by a head coach. And I just went full Jay. And I like Jay, but I went full Jay. I was like, that is so ballsy. Then we lost the game.
We couldn't get it for 1 yard.
We needed it on the quarterbacks, and they
Twice. We had 1 year. Yeah. I mean.
Still has yet to do it for us. Never would.
Oh, by the way, he still has
No.
yet to do it for anybody. If you
No.
watch Kirk Cousins try to execute.
He's too light in the ass.
What the hell is wrong with that guy?
I don't know. I don't know.
Eat a cheeseburger, man.
Yeah, have a little.
What the hell, Kirk? It's like, it's too late in the ass. We're talking about
Watch
6
it down with a milkshake.
He's light
It's
in the ass.
it's
Ken.
still. I'm sorry.
He's
I'm
not.
sorry.
He's skinny legged.
I
He's
get so
got just.
upset
He's
about
just got
this.
like this regular
I get so upset
white
about
man
this.
ass.
It's just a sharp
He's-
jawline.
It's not a. So he takes a step back. When he takes a step watch other quarterbacks take a snap for quarterback's sake. I challenge everyone. Don't take my word for it. I could be dead wrong. Believe that I'm dead wrong and watch for yourself. He takes the ball, and in real time, it looks like it's in slow motion. He takes the ball and he's like, let's see. I'll go this way. He never gets it. He stands straight up.
No.
He
He's not
loses-
very. He's not very sneaky.
No physics. So that's what stood out to me.
All right,
In this
well-
3 years, all the goodness in this 3 years wasn't wiped out by the Redskins going from 9-7 to 8-7-1 to 7-9. The goodness wasn't lost, but there was a reality that set in 2017 that wasn't fully addressed. Wasn't fully addressed until this offseason. And that's what we're talking about Ron Rivera. The only way that problem that finally became apparent to me, and I was late to the party. I know people were there before me and whatever. I
You
don't.
took it hard too.
What's that?
You took it hard.
He hasn't
It was.
let go.
It was. It was. It was. It was.
I
It was.
know, you were bitter.
It was.
It showed.
I
It's
wore.
showing- it's
Hey, I
showing-
wore my.
It's showing again.
I wear my feelings on my sleeve when it comes to this, as do you guys too. And I don't even act like it's just me. And I do get emotional about it, and it does well me
You're
up.
getting like
and I
red.
think to myself,
You're getting fired up.
well, because I give a shit, and you give a shit, and you give a shit, and all these people give a shit. And the one person who we wanted to give a shit was
Like
Dan
Oprah.
Snyder, and he
You
acted
give
like
a
he
shit.
didn't give a shit, and you give a shit, and you give a shit. The people that should have given a shit
I
didn't
think
give a
we
shit.
hit our shit quota.
I guess. I don't know. It was
Red
so
flag.
upsetting. It was so upsetting, and I don't
Oh
understand.
shit!
I know. I was upset by it. I was
Still
upset
are
by the
obviously.
upsetting.
It's fine.
I appreciate you guys.
It's
You
a
know,
great word for that time.
Letting me
Put it
go.
that way.
Cleanse your soul.
yeah. This to me was a period in DC sports that if it was like raw emotion because awesome things happen in DC sports, and we can look
In
back
general, yes.
in general, yes, and because of how much we love the Redskins,
and yet it still felt shitty.
it still felt shitty. T.
I got to take a shit.
Oh man. That's why that to me that's like the failure of Dan Snyder ultimately is the lack of understanding of what the impact the Washington Redskins really are in our lives. Judge me how you will, world, for living and dying on this stuff, but it
No
makes
one's
me
judging
sick.
you, dude.
It makes me
Well,
sick
maybe they are now.
that someone's effing with my life the way Dan Snyder did in these 3 years in particular.
Toying with your
He
emotions.
toyed with me in a way that I just can't. I know, AGH. Thank you for having my back all the way across the sea.
You gonna stay a
Nah,
little bit
stop,
longer,
brother.
Make sure he's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone needs.
Oh,
I need
yeah.
to be monitored.
Someone has to call him in the morning.
Someone's that out.
All right, so
You might
listen.
wanna give
I'm
Blake a
with you,
heads
man.
up.
I
Listen,
felt
guys.
it. I just.
This is the whole reason why I think our thing has lasted every Tuesday night, every single week for going on 2.5 years now, Kevin. That's what we like to say. Is two,
I mean-
2.5? At least 2.5 years.
I just know we started right after I hit puberty. That's all I remember.
Well, really? I don't know. Full enough or like?
It's a rowdy bunch.
Mm-hmm.
It's going
That it
downhill.
is. That it is. Let's close this
Yeah.
out. Hey, Greg, not
Quickly.
on a flag football draft. Not on a flag football draft. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a
We're
quick.
doing it?
We're gonna do a quick
We're gonna do it.
run through. I'm gonna stretch out some calisthenics. The USA basketball roster is so deep and amazingly awesome. 3 of us here. We're gonna draft 5-man roster from that 40-man roster, and you guys are gonna tell us in quick fashion whose team wins. Each of you get a vote, and I'm going to say it's not going to be a snake draft, and I will get the last pick. So I'll be the 3rd pick in every single round. T will get the 1st pick in every single round. In the USA basketball roster, which I'm pulling up right now, everyone can follow along at home so you can see how bad T's picks are as he goes through. They named, I think, was it 44? It was 40, 40 something. Something along those
44
lines.
exactly.
It was 44. Currently ranked, I will say T. You may pick first. Sir, you're on the clock.
LeBron.
Ooh, LeBron James is off the board, and he is. You don't have to tell us who. At the end, you will have to tell us who you're playing at which position. Okay?
I'm going to take Kawhi.
Kawhi. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I will, and we're going to assume everyone's healthy. Everyone on this
Of
roster
course,
is healthy.
of course, of
And I'll
course.
take Steph.
Of course. Steph Curry.
Steph Curry off
It's
the
not
board.
a snake, so T, you're
So T,
back
you're
up.
back up, buddy.
Giannis.
Nope. He
He's
plays
not American.
for
He's
Greece.
not-
Crap,
he's
you're
not-
right.
He's not an American guy, so.
So I'll take
we gotta-
Kevin Durant.
We got to go
Ooh.
with Americans. T goes LeBron and KD. It's going to be a tough twosome.
Yep.
I'm not going to argue with that pick, but I'm going to take Anthony Davis.
Yeah, that was the guy on the board that I would have taken if you didn't. I'm not going to take JaVale McGee, although I am somewhat tempted. I don't even know why. I can't believe he's actually still on the roster. And you guys may have me thinking I got to take a big man here. But can I take a big?
What you got to do is make a pick. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
This is
Well,
not
here's-
snaky.
And I'm not taking Dwight. That ain't happening. I guess, you know what? My big man, I'll take Draymond. I'm going to respond.
It's a horrible pick.
Well, I got Curry and Draymond.
What is he averaging? 6.7 right
don't
now.
care. In
I know,
USA
you've always
basketball-
loved him. He's a turd without.
I don't-
he's
there's
gonna
no
be-
other big men.
He's going to be good. Oh yeah, there is.
Well, I'm not taking Andre Drummond.
Yeah, I'm taking Andre
I
Drummond.
don't know
Take
why.
Andre Drummond.
All right.
In the international
Took
game.
Drummond. Well, then I guess I might as well take James Harden.
All right, fair enough. I'm taking Dame Lillard.
I like that pick. I'm a Dame Lillard lover.
Lillard, and my backcourt is silly.
Yeah, well, you have You have no big man,
No, none.
but a turd.
Goes
at
back to
3-4.
T. Goes back to T.
LeBron, KD, and Drummond. Who's T gonna go with?
Westbrook.
I like Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, your team is looking strong. It's quite strong.
Yeah, it's a nice one. It's a nice one.
I really should have snaked this one. I would have got Anthony Davis. But
Yeah,
it's
well,
too
I'm
late.
gonna go with Jason Tatum.
Yeah, why not?
Oh, I love him.
Hey.
Internationally, he's a freak.
Why isn't Zion's name on here, by the way? I thought he was on it.
He's not on it.
That's crap.
It's crap.
I strenuously object to his omission. But I need some beef. I need a little bit of somebody who can throw around their weight just a teeny bit. I'll take LaMarcus. I have to take LaMarcus Aldridge. I think.
He's gonna be. He's gonna not. You don't have a lot of defense underneath the basket.
No,
All right. So T, your final guy is LeBron, KD, Andre Drummond, Russell Westbrook, and
Klay Thompson.
yeah, Clay's a good pick. I'm liking T's team.
Yeah, he's got to be the runaway favorite.
Oh, he's not the runaway favorite. You haven't seen my team over here.
My team is.
And I'm gonna take Kyrie Irving to run the one for my squad.
All right, I got Curry and Dame in my backcourt, Green and Aldridge underneath, which really opens me up. I can go a lot of different ways, and I'm going to tell you right now. I don't want you to back me down and taking Jimmy Butler, because
Everyone else is done drafting. No one's backing you anywhere.
don't back me into that. And I'm not a Harrell guy or a Tobias Harris guy. Although Tobias Harris, by the way, probably no one would vote for him, but he probably would be the toughest guy on the floor. I'll tell you what. I will take.
I have a mismatch. No,
I'll take Kevin Love.
Ken's team sucks.
My team does suck.
Your team sucks.
I needed somebody
it's
who
me
could
or
take
T?
some
And
stretch.
your team sucks.
My team.
All right. T and I have point guards. Westbrook versus Kyrie, however you want to debate that.
Yep.
Harden versus Clay. I think I'm going to get the nod there today.
Although Clay's a defensive guy.
I
mean,
know, I know.
I know Harden's going to get his
And-
shots.
Oh, I
but
love my team.
Then
I love
Kawhi,
my
Tatum,
team.
and AD versus LeBron, KD, and Drummond. I might give T the edge, but my team's going to beat his team 4 out of 6. We're all going to stomp your team.
I don't think so.
Your team stinks.
I don't think so. Curry and Lillard in the backcourt, Draymond and LaMarcus with Kevin Love
LaMarcus.
stretching things out.
LaMarcus and Kevin Love are the worst 2 post defenders on the whole list.
We're playing an international game.
And then you have Stephen Lillard, who
Are
can't,
we doing a
who can't
trapezoid?
defend. Who can't defend.
We're doing a trapezoid. We're doing a trapezoid.
Draymond Green has to guard the other team's starting 5.
Yes.
And then these 4 can
He
fight over
does.
the ball.
All right. Well, listen.
I love that your team stinks.
I'm going to embrace these guys. I'm going to say, I should have made it a snake, and I should have given myself the first pick.
Yeah, I like T's team.
T, you win. T wins tonight.
Yeah.
We're coming back next week. It might be Tuesday. It might be Thursday. We're not quite sure. We're going to be live at a bar / restaurant ahead of our live broadcast of the WCAC basketball tournament, boys and girls. Semis on Sunday, February 23rd. Finals Monday, February 24th. Hit that button. Be a subscriber. It's free. Sign up for the notifications. Get
Join
a
the
little bell.
thousands.
The thousands of subscribers that we now have. Seriously, though, we appreciate you guys. We couldn't have done it without you. And man, I tell you what, it's been a fun ride. We're going to get to the last 2 years of our decade series before we start a new one. We've gotten some interesting ideas from people on what our next focus should be on as we break down DC sports and the Redskins. It can be Redskins-centric. James, I want you to sharpen that pencil just a teeny tiny bit. I know you have some good Redskins ideas. The last one you sent me, I can't even say it on the air. It was I don't think we can do that show. I just don't think we can do it. But I want to do something for you. So also, Greg, the fact that you are getting married soon is really pulling you
Whoa,
in.
are you really?
Yeah, he really is. He is. He's on his way down the aisle, dead man walking. We welcome you
Run,
with open
dude.
arms to the fraternity.
Just start running.
We love it. And I guess that's really going to kind of pull you in a little bit harder to the basement podcast scene. Thank you for being a part of this. AGH, Nasta, thanks for being awake so late in Wales, everybody. We're live in Wales. Thank you very much.
4 a.m.
My man.
4 a.m.
4 a.m. Hats off to you guys. Eric, Robert,
That's so cool.
everybody. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
You guys are ridiculous, man.
Brian
Thank you.
Sanders,
I feel like
DJ.
I feel like we're all hanging out down here. It would sure be nice to get that mixed together. We'll figure that out someday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Come hang out with us. He's Tim Strachan.
Hey, it's been another good Tuesday. Looking forward to another one next week, fellas.
He's Kevin Rickey.
Yeah, I love it being down here. And hey, when you're having your ideas about where we're going to go up after our all-decade stuff, fast food, wags, desserts, like incorporated into the sports.
Desserts.
Let's
You
have
had
at
me
it.
You had me at desserts.
Let's have at it. Let's have at it.
We're just fine tuning our analytic pencils, guys. And the basement is designed to dig in deep to some fun things. The covering the decade in DC sports is just scratching the surface. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We'll make this fun
Yeah, thank you.
because you guys are part of it. They're the Black Keys. I'm Ken Marangolo. This was, thank God it's Tuesday. Appreciate you guys.
We cover some emotion,